everybody, it's Kristina of CraftyPaws. Hey Jude Cards here on YouTube is celebrating her 1-year YouTube anniversary with a YouTube hop. So I wanted to come on and share with you guys a little series of cards celebrating dogs. Jude and I both share a love of dogs, hers particularly focused on rescues. So I wanted to come on here and share with you guys how I made this window or peekaboo kind of card that has a spotlighted image where only one image is colored up with Copic markers. The rest of the scene are left in their kind of original stamped out state. And I think it came out really cute. So I'm going to share with you guys the whole process of how I made these cards. They're all basically the same, just with a different dog featured. Let me first share with you guys all the products that I used, and then I'll go ahead into the process tutorial video. The first was a Simon Says Stamp Stitch Squares die. This has stitching on the inside and the outside, and I like that because for these little windows, I have the stitching on the outside remaining for the sentiment on the inside of the card to show through. For the scene building, I use this Joy Crafts Home Sweet Home stamp set. And so I used a couch, the single chair, this little side table, a plant, and also the bookshelves. And I also made the bookshelves kind of look more built in by building, just doodling on a little frame around it. The dogs are all from this Quetzal Craft dogs stamp set. It's so cute. I love the little expressions on their faces. And these are red rubber stamps that come unmounted, and I mount all of my unmounted stamps. And this also I picked up at Top Flight Stamps, and I just think they're so stinking cute. They kind of remind me a little bit of the Tim Holtz Crazy Dogs, which I also have, but I really wanted to get a chance to color these cuties up. And then for the sentiment, a house is not a home without a dog. This is from an old sentiment stamp set that's all about dogs. This is a Cloud 9 Designs clear stamps, and this is the stamp that I use, but all of the sentiments are, dog related. Blessed is the person who has earned the love of an old dog. Dogs are not our whole life, but they make our lives whole, etc., etc. And I don't even know if this is still available, but it's 16 pieces in this stamp set, and it's made by Fisker's Cloud 9 Designs, and it's just called Dog. Anyway, without further ado, let me share with you guys the process of making these cards. So as I said, I use this Joy Crafts stamp set, and I chose it particularly because the stamps actually look like sketch drawings, similar to the style of the Quetzal Craft dogs. There's that sketchy, hand-drawn kind of look to these little furniture pieces. And I'm just taking my time kind of positioning them where I want them on the card front, and I'm prepping them a little bit with the oils from my hands, and then I'm just using some Memento Tuxedo Black ink because at this point I hadn't decided if I was going to Copic color them or not. These, I think, are acrylic, not photopolymer, so it took a couple of stampings to get a good clear impression. I decided I wanted to build a little bit more into the scene, so I'm going to add this little overhead lamp, and also I've decided to add a little plant on the little side table. So I stamped that out first on my scrap piece of paper, and then I put a little bit of Post-it note paper on top of the little side table so that I could mask it off so that it looked like the pot and plant was kind of behind the books that are sitting on the table. And I used a Copic multi-liner pen to just doodle the little bottom part of that pot. And now I'm using another Copic multi-liner pen to draw in the frame around the bookshelf. I wanted the bookshelf to look like it was kind of inset into the wall. And again, the sketchy style of these little stamps is perfect for doodling extra accessories. Now I'm positioning that card front with that stitch square die, and you've noticed that I have a piece of yellow copy paper behind it. And I'm doing that so that I have a template so that I know the exact positioning of this opening so that I can make sure that the sentiment inside the card as well as the opening on the card front are all positioned in exactly the same place. So
I've intentionally made it a little bit longer, but it's actually positioned perfectly flush to the bottom and on the sides. Now I'm taking plain white cardstock and scoring it and folding it for my card base. And there you see how my little template now is perfect for positioning the stamp. Again, this is a great time to use a stamp positioner like the Misty tool. I'm making sure that this little stamp with a sentiment is going to fit exactly in that window opening when I get both layers, the card front and the card base front die cut out. So I'm just stamping that out. And again, I think these stamps are acrylic stamps, so it takes a couple of stamp impressions to get a good, clean, crisp sentiment stamped out. Now I'm positioning that template again on my card front. Now I've got it opened inside facing down, and you can just kind of, kind of shimmy that template on top so that the die fits exactly in the same grooves of that template. And then you'll know that the card front is being cut at exactly the same place as that template was cut. Now I can adhere that card front to that card base, and it is perfectly positioned. I'm just using a little snail glue here, tape roller, any kind of adhesive will do. But I just wanted to make sure that I would get this perfectly positioned so that the die cut window on the card front and the die cut window on the card base front are exactly positioned one on top of the other. So that's the construction of the card. Now I'm going to share with you guys just a little bit of Copic coloring on these dogs. I'm not going to show all of the dogs. I just thought I would do a little sampling of a couple of them. I decided this basset hound looking dog I was going to color up very simply with brown ears, a black spot on its back. I looked at a variety of Google images of basset hounds to kind of get an idea of what the color combinations on this dog breed would look like. You know, spots on dogs are totally forgiving, so you can make it up as you go along. The spot on the back of this little puppy, I've decided to color up with a W7, which is a warm gray. And I find that a lot of gray colors for living things like animals, I like to use the warm grays rather than the cold grays. There are exceptions to this, but I think for this basset hound, it gives a nice warm look to this puppy. And like I said, there's no right or wrong to how you want to color up spots on a dog. It's really, really forgiving. You can just kind of make it up as you go along. But I decided I'm using an E23 and an E25 for the brown areas, and a W7, and I believe maybe a W9 as well. In any event, if you're interested in the particular Copic colors that I used, you can check out my blog post, which I will link to in the description box below. For the white areas, I wanted to not leave it just stark white of the cardstock. So I'm using a W0 for a really, really faint, light gray, warm gray, just where the kind of cast shadows should be from the tongue, where the hash marks are on the image itself, on the stamped image. Oh, now you see I'm just adding a little bit of W9 around the darker spots and the nose. And now I'm deciding to make the eyes a little bit bigger. The pupils are that black part, and then I colored brown, and then I added white jelly roll pen, a white gel pen to add the highlights. For the tongue, I decided I'm going to use an R27 and an R29 just to get a little bit of extra depth in there. I skipped over the fussy cutting, but basically I really took my time, fussy cut out the entire dog image without having any edge around it, that little white edge. And I wanted to make sure that the paper edge was also black so it looks finished. So I'm using a Memento Tuxedo black marker to do that. I really like how that marker doesn't seep into the image and does give good coverage. The next dog I'm coloring up is a husky, I believe, and I'm just trying to mark in the areas where I think his dark kind of gray and black areas would be. And this is one of those exceptions. I decided I wanted the husky to look cooler, so I'm using a cool gray tone. For the inside of the ears, I used an R30. For the tongue, again, I used an R27 and a 29. In some of the other dogs, I went one shade lighter and went with an R24. So, you know, color the dogs up as you will. Now I'm using a C7 to darken up some of the dark spots on this husky. I think it is so, so adorable. I love that expression. And again, I'm taking a C1, the lightest cool gray that I have, and just marking in where the shadows would be. The undersides of the paws, the back side of the legs, all of those hash mark areas. The stamp is really great because it shows you where the shadows should be. So it's easy to just color quickly over those areas. I also wanted the eyes to look inset a little bit, so I shaded around the outside of the eyes. And those husky bright blue eyes are so, you know, breed specific that I wanted to make sure I got those bright blue eyes in on this puppy. Now I'm fussy cutting around this dog, taking my time going around exactly on that outside edge of the image. And I find that these scissors that I'm using, these are spring-loaded Fiskars scissors, are great for me because I have arthritis. And sorry, it's a little blurry here, but the reverse kind of cutting that you do with these spring-loaded scissors really works for me better than a lot of the other scissors that are more traditional. This, for some reason, gives me much less hand strain. So I wanted to share that with you guys too. I'll try to remember to link to the various products that I use in the description box as well. So I just take my time fussy cutting around this whole image, trying to make sure I get the wisps of the tail in there. And it's not perfect fussy cutting. As you can see a little bit here, there are little white edges, but that's all masked really easily with that Memento Tuxedo black marker. I flip it on the back side for those really delicate detailed sides, edges or parts of the fussy cut image. And then I hold it up and just go around the edge like you saw me do there. Now I'm gonna position all the dogs. I'm using a little bit of double-sided foam adhesive for the heads where I wanted the dog to pop off the card a little bit, adding a little dimension also adds to making this the focal point. And I'm gluing down the lower part of the dog. And you're wondering why I've got this dog off the card base so far. And don't worry, I'm actually gonna just cut that off. I wanted the dog to look like it's popping into the scene from the side, so it wouldn't be too disproportionately large. I also wanted to kind of save the tail, even though, you know, it wasn't in the right angle. So I'm just gonna go ahead and glue that tail in and cut off the overhang part. So it looks like that tail is whipping back over the dog's back. For the little husky, I decided he's just gonna go straight right in the middle of the foreground of this card. And again, I'm using double-sided foam adhesive just to give a little bit of dimension. I want these cards to be able to be mailed easily without having to worry about extra postage. But I did want a little bit of dimension, particularly at the top parts around the faces of these dogs. So I'm doing that double-sided foam adhesive, making sure the ears are supported, the faces are supported with that double-sided foam tape. I think I add a little bit more to the back here too. I just didn't want to have a flat middle when I had the tail popped up too. And now I'm just using some art glitter glue. This is my favorite wet glue, as most of you probably already know. I use a fine nozzle tip to get into those little nooks and crannies. Next, I'm gluing on this adorable basset hound, and I want him to look like he's popping in from the lower left corner of the card. And I'm popping up his head and his ear, his big ear, on double-sided foam adhesive, and then I'm using the wet glue to adhere the rest of the dog, especially the tail, because I don't want that hanging loose in case it gets damaged in the post. And I'm hanging him off a little bit, just so that his paws aren't completely in the scene. And I'm gonna cut off that overhang, but I didn't want to cut off that ear, so it's just gonna hang off the edge of the card. I think that's kind of cute too. It just emphasizes how big and gorgeous those ears are. And then lastly, I decided to color up the dachshund. And for all of these breeds, I just decided to go on Google Images and look up the breed and figure out color combinations that would work so that they all looked like some kind of known dog. And again, for the dachshund, I'm using some double-sided foam adhesive to add a little bit of dimension, but not too much. And then I'm gonna glue the little feet and the tail down onto the card front itself directly. So it adds a little dimension, but really secures the dog nice and firm onto the card front. And then lastly, I'm just going to add just a teeny bit of shadowing. This is only necessary for the dachshund and for the husky because their full bodies, including their feet, are actually shown in the scene, whereas the other two dogs are popping in from the sides. So for the two cards that have the dogs popping in from the sides, I've doodled in little area rugs as well. There was too much blank space in the scene when the dog was far over to the left or to the right. So that Dalmatian and this Basset Hound have rugs kind of in the background as well in the scene. And that's really about it. I hope you enjoyed this process video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. And don't forget to hop along on all of the other YouTube hop stops for Hey Jude cards. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys are having a wonderful crafty day. Oh my gosh, I almost forgot to tell you guys about the giveaway details. So first of all, every hop stop on this hop are going to be giving away this super cute digi. I absolutely love it. It's got kitties, dogs. This little guy here looks so much like my little bandito. Anyway, it's a great little digi, and in fact, you can find this digi, if you're not one of the lucky winners, on Jude's new Etsy shop. And there are lots of great dog, especially dog digis there. And all of the proceeds from the sale of her Etsy shop are going to dog rescue this week. And after that, I think like 20% of all the proceeds will be going to dog rescue charities. Also, on my hop stop, one lucky winner is also going to be getting this super cute My Favorite Things Playful Pups stamp set. I have this one already, and Jude was kind enough to give me one of these sets. And since I already had it, I thought I would give this away on my hop stop as well. All you need to do to be eligible on my hop stop is to let me know in the comments below if you're a dog person or a cat person. And if you want to be eligible for the grand prize, which is not only the digi, but also 2 stamp sets, not only Playful Pups, but the other gift set that Jude was gifting other hop participants, then please make sure that you leave a comment on all the hop stops. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate all the crafty love and support.